Okay, Chair, we're live on YouTube, so I'll hand over to you to start the meeting.
Thank you very much indeed, Sarah. Good morning and welcome to the meeting of the Placemaking in Exmouth Town and Seafront Group on the 12th of September 2023. I am your chair, Councillor Nick Hookway. I would also like to welcome anyone watching the meeting via live streaming. The meeting can be viewed online and will be recorded. Please bear this in mind throughout the meeting. Therefore, I remind colleagues to be careful with their language and that the code of conduct applies throughout our meeting. We reserve the right to remove and disconnect any participant disrupting the meeting by whatever means. As this meeting is dependent upon an internet connection and a power supply, in the event of a break in the internet connection or a power cut, please bear with us as we try to reconnect. If we are not able to reconnect after 15 minutes, this meeting will be adjourned and reconvened at a later date. Please check the committee page on our website for further details. Could colleagues please ensure that your microphone is muted when you are not speaking? This will help avoid any disturbance from background noise. Could you also please keep your point short and not interrupt when someone else is speaking? Should you wish to comment, please raise your electronic hand and wait to be called. All councillors have been sent the agenda for today's meeting. Any members of the public can view the agenda by visiting our website at www.eastdevon.gov.uk. We will now start the meeting by doing a roll call of committee members here present. So can you please now mute your microphone when you hear your name? Please confirm by saying present. When you've confirmed you're present, please move your microphone again. Thank you, Sarah.
Thank you. Councillor Hookway, please.
Present.
Thank you. Councillor Arnott.
Present.
Thank you. Councillor Hayward. Councillor Chapman. Councillor Anne Hall. Councillor Wilson. Councillor Whibley. Councillor Deasy.
Present.
Thank you. And Councillor Davey, please.
Present.
Thank you. I'll pass back to you, Chair.
Thank you, Chair. Can I just, sorry, shall I just leap in a moment there for the benefit of the recording and anybody watching? So we are not quorate because we don't have 4 district councillors in attendance. We've agreed that we will continue on an informal basis on the basis that we have members of the public here to speak, other councillors, and that seems like the appropriate thing to do. We're not a decision-making group at this stage, so I believe that is appropriate. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much indeed, Anita. Okay, so agenda item 1, apologies. I have apologies from Councillor Brian Bailey and Councillor Matt Hall. Sarah, do you have any more apologies, please?
No, there are no more, Chair.
Okay, thank you. Right, so agenda item 2, minutes of the previous meeting held on the 25th of July, 2023, pages 2 to 3. Do any members of the committee have comments on the minutes of the previous meeting held on the 25th of July, 2023? If so, please raise your electronic hand. If there are no hands raised, I will take it you're happy with the minutes and they are received and noted. Right, okay. Right, so Jerry, you have a comment?
Yeah, Chair, sorry to interject, but there is an error in one of the appendices. We left out Councillor Matt Hall's as one of the attendees of the workshop on the 31st of July. Matt's aware, and I'm also aware we will amend that, but I was just waiting until today in case there was any subsequent amendments, so just a minor one.
Okay, thank you very much indeed for that. Right, I see no hands raised, and therefore those minutes are received and noted. Agenda item 3, declarations of interest. This will be done by roll call. When your name is called, please state your declaration, including which agenda item your declaration relates to. State what exactly the interest is and a specific type of interest you are declaring. Thank you, Sarah.
Thank you. We'll start with yourself. Councillor Hookway, please.
None, thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Arnott. So we can't.
None, thank you.
Thank you. And Councillor Deasy, please.
None, thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Davey.
None, thank you, but please note that I'm here in 3 capacities: as portfolio holder for strategic planning, as the town ward member, and as the current chair of Exmouth Town Council.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Davey. I'll pass back to you, Chair.
Okay, thank you very much. Agenda item 4, public speaking. We have 2 members of the public who are registered to speak today. So the first is Suzanne Isaacs, the Vice Chair of Exmouth Rowing Club, and you'll have 3 minutes, Suzanne, with a reminder at 2 minutes 30 seconds. So, Suzanne, over to you.
Thank you. Welcome to Exmouth Rowing Club. Change screen. Change slide. ERC is a well-established offshore rowing club. Founded in 1993, we're celebrating its 30th year. The club initially operated from Shelley Beach until EDDC provided the club with temporary premises on Queen's Drive, after which it moved to its current home, the old inshore lifeboat station, when the new lifeboat station was built. Club members funded the boathouse refurbishment in 2014. The new premises have allowed the club to grow from around 50 members to its current capacity, capped at 100 today. Change slide. ERC has been a key club in the pioneering and development of offshore rather than river rowing in the UK. We are healthy financially. We regularly seek funding for new boats and local sponsorship. We have also raised over £1,000 for local charities like Open Door, Exmouth Food Bank over the last 3 years. We are highly regarded by British rowing. Witness our recent hosting twice in 3 years of BROC, the National Offshore Championships. We have regular coverage in their monthly magazine. ERC rowers have achieved gold and silver medals over a number of competitions. We have athletes of national level calibre. Change slide. We were key in setting up the Southwest's first offshore rowing league with clubs in Teignmouth, Plymouth, Torquay, Cornwall and Dorset, and we host regular competitive events. We are currently in discussions with the University of Exeter Boat Club about affiliate membership due to their rowers' interest in offshore rowing. We have a diverse membership demographic with club activities that promote both competition but also physical and mental health and well-being for all, both on and off the water. Change slide. We have a substantial wait list of keen future members. Our biggest challenge is storage. We love our boathouse and its location. Sorry, something popped up on my screen there. We love our location, but new members equals a need for more boats, which we do not have space for. A recent application to EDDC for use of land on Queen's Drive to store our boat trailer was refused. Understanding the many challenges facing EDDC, we would like to continue our positive working relationship.
30 seconds remaining.
As demonstrated last week with the installation of a defibrillator on our boathouse wall. We would like to request the use of the land next to our boatyard for boat trailer storage and would happily carry out the work ourselves. This would readily resolve our storage challenges and allow us to continue to serve the Exmouth community. Your help to do this is greatly appreciated. Thank you for listening to me this morning on behalf of Exmouth Rowing Club.
Okay, thank you very much indeed, Suzanne. That was very interesting. Okay, and well done for being exactly 3 minutes. That's very impressive. Okay, right. So our next speaker is Jonathan Fisher from the National Trust. So if we can just change screens, please.
If I could work out how to stop sharing, that would help.
Oh, okay, all right. Right, okay, good. So yes, Jonathan Fisher, welcome to our group, and you have 3 minutes.
Good morning, thank you. Can you hear me first of all?
Yes.
If you can, thank you. After that excellent presentation from Exmouth Rowing Club, I think I found a new interest. Thank you. I might see if I can join. First of all, my congratulations to everybody involved in the placemaking workshops and the reports that have been shared online already. My purpose is simply to offer the interest and contact within the National Trust. I started about 9 months ago and I was responsible for South and East Devon coast for the National Trust and in particular the land at Orkham Point, the previous Bristol City Council schools education camp, Pratt's Hayes camp behind, and also Lower Halsden Farm immediately off the cycle track with links across to Alleronde, which could be improved. So I somehow the National Trust don't appear to have had much input so far hence the request that we be involved as well, willing and positive participants in this process. I think we have something that we can offer. We have a keen interest in developing our facilities off the Exmouth cycle trail and making sure that people arriving by cycle trail or by train, I beg your pardon, fraudulent slip, are aware how to get up through Lower Halston to Allerond. And at the same time, I think there was great opportunity with a change in lease up at Orkham Point to look at how we can best use that land, which straddles the Southwest Coastal Path and is immediately next door to the Geo Needle there, how we can use that consistent with all the excellent ideas that you've got so far. So National Trust is very much wants to be a part of the community and wants to play its part. So that's really all I've got to say. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much indeed. Thank you for your very kind comments. And also, thank you for informing us of your interest around the Geo Needle. That's, I think, a very interesting one. Officers will certainly think about that. And you certainly raised some interesting questions regarding active travel access to Lower Halston Farm and Allerond. I think, again, that's something officers will probably wish to develop with you further. Okay. Do we have any comments? I don't see anything up here. I'm just checking. No. Okay, right. Well, thank you very much indeed, Jonathan. That was really interesting. I'm glad you came. Right. So moving on then to agenda item 5, we have the presentation of the Exmouth Youth Survey. And I'm delighted that we have Pip and Debbie Piper here who undertook the survey and are going to present this item. So over to you, Pip and Debbie.
Oh, good morning, everybody. Thank you for having us. So just a very, very brief introduction. So me and Debbie are former professional youth and community workers and now run a media charity, and I'm an independent filmmaker, but we keep our kind of youth kind of related stuff very close to us. I don't think you ever stop becoming being a youth worker. When we moved to Exmouth 5 years ago, we were heavily involved in networking and trying to just find out what was going on in Exmouth and meeting different people. And over time, we just found that one of the kind of concurrent themes that was coming through is felt like young people often didn't seem to get much of a voice in what was going on in Exmouth. And so we felt a couple of years ago that we would embark on looking to see if we could actually do a survey of some kind, working alongside young people. And so 18 months ago, that's what we began to do. It took us quite a while. I think post-pandemic, it was quite difficult getting into groups. A lot of youth groups hadn't really started back properly again. But over that time, we met with a bunch of young people, both in the school, in the youth service, in some voluntary groups, and working alongside them helped to empower and enable those young people to think about what the sorts of questions they felt should be asked if there was a youth survey, and helped to compile that youth survey with us. And then we embarked on taking that out, and with the help of Jerry, we were able to get some support from East Devon Council and have the youth survey placed online on their Commonplace platform, which went live in sort of late May this year, a little bit delayed because of the hustings for the elections. Unfortunately, which kind of affected a little bit how we were able to work with the school. But the survey, I think you've seen been sort of sent around the pie chart that's come out of the back end of the Commonplace platform, which shows some of the highlights. We've done a short report, which I think will be sent out after this meeting. So we're just here really to flag up the fact that this has been done. There's an awful lot of data, a lot more than is presented in that PowerPoint pie chart. And there are some discussions going on about how we can try and data mine much more thoroughly all of the information that's come out, because it's broke up into age groups, also where young people live. So there's a lot of different possibilities of how that data could be used. And the intention is that it's completely and utterly freely available. And again, we're looking at how best to do that so that anybody involved or interested in the views of young people, and with the potential that that information might be beneficial to them in raising funds or seeking different initiatives, that they would be made available to everybody. So around 333 young people took part. There is a little bit of variation in some of the questions, more people answered some of them. But in general, the really good thing that came out of it is the vast majority of young people actually really do enjoy being here in Exmouth, which is great. But it also flagged up some other quite interesting factors, particularly around mental health being by far the biggest concern that all of them have. Also underage vaping, lots of concerns about traffic around the school and getting to school and feeling safe doing that. There was a kind of even split between those that felt safe being in Exmouth, half felt safe being out and about during the day and the night, but half also felt that they were unsafe going out during the evening time. So there's a bunch of different things that have come out, and I think the PowerPoint's going to be shared, but I don't think we need to kind of go through it. We can go through it quite rapidly because I think all of you have seen it. So if we can just go through the slides one by one. Yeah, so next slide, yeah. So you can see there that the age group that we did, it was 11 to 18, and the vast majority are between 11 and 16. The 17 to 18, I think, Debbie, you.
Yeah, so the reason for that is we really wanted to get it in before GCSEs and A-levels, but we were just delayed getting it in. So it went in
kind of
quite late, really.
Kind of mid-late.
So we just think we missed a lot of that age range, which is really unfortunate.
Okay, next slide, thank you. So yeah, so slightly skewed towards female, but reasonably even there. I mean, it needs to be said that that what happened in the end, we went into the Hive a number of times. They actually did the survey with young people there in the school. They put it on the homework hub in the end. We had hoped that they would put it into actual lessons and allow young people to do it during that time, where we would have got perhaps a lot more respondents. So maybe some reasons why it's slightly skewed in that way. So next slide, please. So do you live in Exmouth? So again, we decided to break it down into Brixington, Littleham Town Centre and Withycombe, and then also surrounding villages. We felt that a lot of young people who live in the surrounding villages identify greatly with Exmouth being, their central place because of going to school here, etc. But it's quite evenly split across. So next slide. Yeah, so do you like living in Exmouth? So what was really great about that is, 83 strongly like and 158 like, with 59 neither like nor dislike. But, I think it shows it's skewed very heavily towards the fact that the majority of young people do feel that they like living in Exmouth and visiting Exmouth. Next slide, please. So yeah, so this is, obviously you can see the vast majority of respondents here attend the community college. But it does show some other interesting factors in terms of, some that are homeschooled, and we know that obviously there's a much bigger proportion of that. Some are young carers, and some consider to, in fact, that's 24 consider themselves to have a disability. So again, bit further, data mining would be helpful within that. Next slide, please. So again, right across the board, I mean, what was really interesting, the vast majority obviously identified with the beach, but quite a few with a number of other, sort of facilities and attractions around the town. Maybe some a bit lower, so maybe only 60 out of the respondents identifying the library, which, again, could a little bit more data mining into that might reveal a few more things, but a kind of a good spread across. And again, these were all things out of the consultations with young people, places they identified should be asked about whether young people enjoy going to. Next slide. This is interesting. So again, just in the intro, just mentioning that, almost half really felt safe during the day and the evening, but another half said they only felt safe during the day. I'm not quite sure the sevens safe during the evening only. I'm not quite sure what that was about, but obviously there's a little bit more to look into there, perhaps again looking at age groups, specifically looking at whether that's concurrent across different areas that people live in, Brixington, Littleham, etc. So that's something I think that could be of interest. Next slide. This again was quite interesting. So it was quite good to see that a vast majority of young people are either walking or cycling to school. But obviously a number are still getting there by car, which is quite high. So that's it. Next slide, please. So yeah, this was the interesting one. So all of the kind of interactions we had with young people, it always came out that it was just very busy around the school, that it felt quite unsafe. So we can see that quite clearly there. So next slide. And so the obvious question that came out of that is what do they feel ought to be done about that? And again, these were the questions that they came up with. So vast majority, saying that there should be more zebra crossings or pelican crossings, limit on the size of vehicles, and quite a number to say, joined up designated cycle paths to make it easier for people to get to school by bike from the various places around town. Okay, next slide. Public transport was something, as you can imagine, lots of young people felt that they should get a free bus pass or travel pass, maybe something to be considered. But again, quite some interesting statistics there, not a high majority, but some thinking the bus is expensive, the train is expensive. But obviously public transport is an issue for young people. So next slide, please. So this was quite interesting. A lot of conversations were around alcohol and drugs, but it was really interesting actually that by far underage vaping and smoking was the thing that most young people were concerned about. Which I think, something definitely to be taken into consideration, particularly thinking about national strategies and things that are coming, being talked about around that as well, but maybe considering certain things that could be done within the town around shops that sell those kinds of things. Okay, next slide. So county lines, this is obviously one of the methodologies that gets drugs into towns like Exmouth. Young people were just interested in whether people actually knew about that. So again, there's sort of fairly even split around that one. But this fairly low numbers about being approached.
Can I just comment here? So one of the questions about, we didn't even consider asking, would you be approached online? But we were talking about this and they said, I haven't been approached in person. People have contacted me online. And that was kind of like, okay, that's interesting. So
it's not very many, but it obviously suggests that there's something this could be information that's useful to share with the police. So next slide, please. So then we moved on to, this is connected the whole thing about feeling safe, really, I guess. Have you personally been the victim of violence or abuse in and around Exmouth? Thankfully, 161 no, but quite substantially in terms of name calling or verbal. Lower, fortunately, for physical attack, but interestingly, mostly coming from other young people. So again,
there are some adults.
Yeah, some, there's some issues there for definitely probably link into the feeling safe. So next slide. So police presence, this was something that came up quite a bit in discussion. So you can see there, should there be a walk-in police station? A lot of people felt that should there be more police on foot, particularly in town at the weekends? So interesting stats there. Okay, next slide. This was shopping came up as a big thing about, feeling connected to the town and whether it was for them. So some interesting sort of statistics there about sort of where people do go to shop. Obviously, a lot do go to Exeter. Probably the train and the bus help facilitate that, but obviously it is a big town that's fairly close to us. Online, as you can imagine. So yeah, next slide. What kind of shops do they want to see? So this was quite interesting. I think this maybe, definitely could be helpful to the discussions you're having around placemaking. So a whole bunch of different sort of issues there that they felt would be, or possibilities that could be good for them. Next slide. So yeah, so this was interesting. There was lots of discussions around the kind of this sort of duality that Exmouth has, you know, that it's obviously the biggest town in Devon. It's a very thriving, working, living town, but also has this, you know, huge emphasis on tourism and tourists and people coming to the town as well. So it's interesting just to see how young people felt they related to that. So quite a lot felt it was mainly aimed at tourists, but you know, some fairly even splits across other things. So next slide. This is a little bit more difficult to understand. So there is other information that Jerry's got, which helps with this. But essentially, there was a question where young people had 9 different things, and it was how it had to work on Commonplace. But they were able to slide the issue that they felt was most important to them to the very top. And then sort of, you know, so number 1 is the highest sort of priority thing, or the thing that they're most affected by, down to 9, which is the least. So we can see that, you know, well over 100 young people felt that mental health issues were, you know, the most important issue to them, but also, you know, probably nearly 75 felt that it was the second one. So combining those, you can see that mental health was by far the biggest issue they had, followed by the future, followed by the climate crisis, and so on. So again, that needs a bit more sort of data mining to really understand that, but I think clearly stands out that there are some things that are far more sort of prevalent to them in their minds and their thinking and their future. Next slide, please. So yeah, do you think young people listen to in Exmouth? So vast majority felt no, and that was the survey. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much indeed, Pip and Debbie. That is a fascinating survey. You've clearly done a huge amount of work there in speaking to young people. I think what you've done is very important because undoubtedly we do need to listen to young people, and some of the issues you've raised, particularly around about traffic, round about schools, I think are very important. But let's have a look and see what other members. Are there any members here who wish to make a comment or raise their hand about that? No. Okay, can't see anybody. Oh yes, we have. Yes, we do have to. So we'll go outside the committee first to Councillor Marianne Rixon, please. Marianne.
Thank you.
Where have you gone? Not to see you. Where have you gone, Marianne? No.
Sorry, I'd just like to say that thank you so much for doing this survey. It's very clear, very well laid out, clear to understand. It's very concerning that mental health issues are so high on the list to me. I think it's quite interesting too, as Nick said, about walking and cycling, and they highlighting the need for more cycle paths if possible, but this always comes down to the thorny issue of who's going to pay for it, etc., etc. You know, we would all like to do this, I'm sure, because cycling is just so good for people. And it is a skill that you might then carry on into older age, which would help with your physical health a lot longer. It's also very concerning about the vaping and smoking, and the issues raised about county lines. You just do not realise how prevalent this is in young people's lives until you see this clearly set out. But thank you very much for the work you put into this.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much indeed, Marianne. Councillor Eileen Ragg, please. Eileen.
Thank you, Chair. I didn't catch all of that presentation. I was called away. But I am concerned about the growing concern about policing in the town. About a year, it was last year anyway, a man in his 80s who I know was jumped on in the subway, and he was badly beaten up. He's a cancer sufferer, and he was in hospital for 6 weeks, and the police did absolutely nothing. Again, last weekend, there are reports of 2 young brothers being set upon in the Manor Gardens by a marauding group who are known. And the parents, he knew, one of the boys knew about 2 or 3 of the perpetrators, or about 10 of them. And he was threatened by the parents. He had to take the names he shouldn't publish the names of the boys. It does come down to, I think, parental influence, perhaps. Parents don't have control over the children once they're, or the youngsters once they're out. But there was an absolute feeling of helplessness. Why go to the police? They do nothing. And then, one of the boys was stolen from. He had his mobile phone containing his bank cards, everything gone. So there is this growing concern and perception that policing is not as it should be, and perhaps we should call the crime commissioner to account on this, because they're always sounding off in the press, she and the local MP, about how good policing is. Well, it clearly isn't while these events are taking place. So I think it's something that we really seriously need to address, because if we become known, this town becomes known as a place where it's not safe, people won't come here and the economy will suffer. Thanks, Chair.
Okay, yes, thank you very much indeed, Councillor Wragg. You raised a very important point that came up in yesterday's placemaking consultation meeting, where I was reliably informed that in East Devon overnight there are only 3 police officers. And it does seem to be very strange that being so close to police headquarters in Exeter, that there are so few police officers on duty. Also, of course, we know that there are supposed to be plans for the rebuilding and replacement of the Exmouth police station. I'm still not sure how that's going to happen, but I think this is a very important point that's raised by the survey, that we could later on perhaps meet with the police crime commissioner to seek her views about how these matters may be addressed, let's put it that way. Okay, so coming in within the committee, Councillor Davey. Ollie.
Yeah, thank you very much for doing this. I think we don't hear the voice of young people very often, and I think you've done a really valuable job there in bringing these to our attention. I was very heartened to see how many pupils do walk to school, actually, because my impression always is they're all dropped off by car. So that perhaps shows the visibility of the car as opposed to walking. And because I do see a lot of them walking up and down Hullam Road near where I live. The vaping thing, I think, again, I'm interested, not just how many pupils are involved in this, but how many see it as a matter of concern. And I think this is something that we really need to take action on. The first thing they could do is ban the use of disposable vapes. That, I think, would make a huge difference, both from an environmental point of view and from young people's health point of view. Yeah, I think the things you've highlighted about safety, as Councillor Wragg has pointed out, I think the sort of name calling and bullying, it is something that goes on among young people, but that doesn't mean we should tolerate it. I think more needs to be done, and more giving young people strategies to deal with that as well. And perhaps that's linked to the mental health issues that some of them identify as well. We always think young people have got it so easy, don't we? But I don't think they do, actually. I was also very pleased to see that a lot would like to see a music shop in the town. I was pleased to see that there was quite a high score for that, because I'd support that too. And interesting that they felt the town was targeted at tourists as well. I mean, elements of the town are, but if you go into the Magnolia Centre, I'm not sure it necessarily feels like a place that's aimed at tourists, or the Strand. But yes, the Seafront, obviously, that is very much aimed at tourists. But I think you could go to other places and feel much more that the whole place is geared towards the tourism economy. So I think this is really valuable information, and thanks so much for doing this.
Pleasure.
Thank you very much, Ollie. I absolutely agree with you there. Be interesting to see what the Deanon Way extension has on traffic flows around schools when it's next couple of years. Okay, right. So, Jerry, you have your hand up. Yeah.
Chair, sorry, I know officers don't normally come in to speak at this point, but just to assure you, just a couple of things. One, this effort by Pip and Debbie was also supported by our colleagues in the town council. I think it's important just we recognise that, and it's been really great. They've stuck with us every step of the way throughout this process. We have passed the findings to WSP, and we will be doing some data mining. It'll come up tomorrow's our own internal team meeting because Sarah, who works on our team, did that with the original consultation, which you'll recall ran to some 10,000 words. Yours is thankfully a little bit shorter, but she did a really, really good job on that. So we will be tic-tacking. So this is the start of a process rather than just the end of it. And it's been extremely valuable because it's one sector that just was not represented in the conventional consultation process. Thanks, Chair. Sorry, as I say, I don't normally chip in like that.
Can I just one comment? Two things. One, chatting to them was fantastic. They had loads of ideas, and on our paper survey, we had drop boxes where they filled it up with suggestions, but we couldn't go into that detail for the physical survey. And one of the things we chatted to them about, or they had a chat about, is they'd love to live here and stay here, but they weren't sure that the jobs were there for them, or that they'd be able to afford to stay here. So they are questions which I'm hoping the data mining will sort of bring up, but I'm not sure that necessarily came across.
I think just the very final comments, I know you're going to be very busy, but we would like to see that this isn't the end of the process. So we'd be very open to a discussion, and we're very willing to offer, ourselves to be involved in any way to if there's a group of young people that could be allowed to come and talk to the council, or if there's ways that could be thought through about how young people could have some kind of voice or connection with the council in some ways, or the future of Exmouth. So I would hope that beyond the data mining, which Jerry just mentioned, which would be great, and hopefully we can bring out a more thorough report, but some thinking around how young people could be more engaged in the future going forwards would be really good.
Thank you.
But thank you so much.
Well, pleasure. Well, thank you very much indeed, Pip and Debbie. That is a very important survey. I absolutely agree that this needs to be a start of a process. And you've raised interesting points. The particular one I've picked up is about young people who want to live and stay and work in it.
Yeah.
That is a long issue that has already been discussed at some length as part of the consultation. Jobs and housing is basically what we're all about. But, making jobs available for people at all levels is absolutely critical. We can't just rely on tourism. We must have a broadly balanced economy. That's very difficult to achieve, but we are going to try to do something about that. So that's very important. So many thanks for your work. Look forward to working with you in the future. And finally, many thanks also must be said to Exmouth Town Council for their support in your work as well.
Yeah,
absolutely.
You.
Yeah,
thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay,
bye.
We will exit now, but thank you very much.
Okay, nice to see you. Thank you. Thank you. Bye. Okay, so thank you. So agenda item 6, moving on now, please. The progress update on placemaking in Exmouth. Over to Jerry to present this item, please.
Chair, very short report for you, and thank you. Just a general update. We have an end of season roundup, which we do with the traders at Queen's Drive. We have some indications, and it's a mixed bag, but the good weather in June started the season off well, but the poor weather in July and August had impacted. I think there are other factors there which are also impacting, and I think there's a little instability in their opening hours at times, which is not helping when we consider where the queues at other outlets that serve similar products, but that's a chat that we will have offline with the traders. The additional car park signage, I tried to get an update on whether or not this had actually been installed. And apologies, it just has not come through yet, but we are chasing that. The murals on the rear wall of the pavilion took us a long time to get there, but I think when you see it, when you see them done, I think it does lift that area really rather nicely, Chair. Just an update, and again, I'm always at pains to point this out. This update comes from our events team. I am not taking the credit for the hard work of our events team. They work extremely hard, but Caitlin, as always, has sent us through just a quick update. So from the 1st of April to the 30th of September, there have or will be 169 events taking place on council land. 90 of these have taken place in Exmouth, with 87 taking place in Exmouth Town and Seafront area specifically. In addition to that, we've also had a number of cancellations as well, mainly due to the awful weather. The cancellations relate, Chair, to events. And it's just not been safe to run some of them. That included Armed Forces Day, promotional stall for Nivea, and a transplant awareness day were also impacted by the weather, but they were able to rebook for later dates. So everything wasn't actually lost. Big wheel operators struggled to get a team to set up the actual carousel. You'll recall we had a license or issued them a license to have that going for 28 days, and that was due to the operator just being unwell, unfortunately, and this is part of the vagaries of relying on people. We can't predict when somebody is going to be poorly. Would be beneficial to explore additional power areas, power in areas such as beach gardens. We did look into this for this year, but unfortunately it was too expensive. It's something that I think we would like to revisit, because we would like to decarbonize that location, and potentially also the events area at Queen's Drive, should that remain as an events area. So, Chair, where we're at now is really, really critical. So we are just finished the second workshop, which is at stage 3 of the placemaking plan. And this, once the report is written up, this will be taken to the delivery group for a recommendation. You recall that at each stage in this process, we wanted to both sense check with our consultees and also to sense check with members that we were on the right track, that our interpretation of the findings in the consultation were correct. And I think it's really important that we understand that the next step is the member decision once the report is written. So that should come through between now and our next scheduled meeting, and that will allow members time to digest the reports in full, and also to give a recommendation, which we will then take forward to Cabinet. So I have, as always, set out the key tasks, and again, the stage 3 is really this is the gateway. When we go through this gateway, this is setting out our stall as the Placemaking in Exmouth Town and Seafront group, and it's saying to the public, we've listened to you. This is how we're going to move it forward. We then move forward, and the key stages in stage 4 is when we start to get to the strategic outline business case. We look then at stage 5, which is the investment strategy. And then we move to stage 6, which is the actual development briefs themselves for the key areas, which we discussed yesterday at the workshop. So just moving on down, just levelling up bid used to be known as Destination Exmouth. Before that, it was known as the Exmouth Gateway, and has since been renamed by the County Council as Exmouth Active Travel Improvements. Project is led by Devon County Council. I accept it's a highway scheme, and they're currently gathering baseline data in preparation for developing the design for the gateway. I'm still going to call it the gateway because it means more to people than active travel improvements in Exmouth. The County Council led a public consultation which commenced in late July and ran until the 21st of August for the proposals. That's the draft proposals. And really, I think some of the comments arising yesterday, Chair, and to be fair to Marion Drew from Exmouth in Bloom, she was quite forthright in her views, and I do welcome those. There is also some other concerns have been raised. There will be further consultation, just to assure members of the placemaking group and anyone listening from a wider point of view. We have said to WSP just that we're aware of some of the concerns that are being raised. We have relayed those. We appreciate that WSP has several teams, and this is a completely separate team to the team working on the placemaking initiatives. So we will then get to a detailed design, and there will also be a consultation via the statutory planning process. So I think members, we'd like to just assure you that there will be plenty more to be heard and plenty more to be said about this project going forward. Chair, I'm happy to take questions, but there's no decisions arising from it, and shout whenever you're ready.
Okay, thank you very much indeed. Okay, so I'm just saying yes, we have some questions here. Town Councillor Deasy Graham, over to you.
Thank you, Chair. There seems to be a little bit of confusion regarding the active travel scheme, the gateway scheme, as to whether the criteria changed from phase 1 application to the second application, because the phase 1 was very much about the gateway, the destination Exmouth, and that's, I think, was that seed was planted in people's thoughts. And what's come back is really a highways project, really geared towards walking, cycling. And so we're trying to get to the bottom of whether the criteria had changed in the application. I don't know whether you've got any answers on that. Thank you.
Jerry?
Chair, happy to come back. I don't. I have to confess that I have never actually had sight of the application. I believe it's completed online. Now, normally with other government portals where you complete funding applications online, they send it to you in an almighty big PDF at the end, which you keep for your own records so that you can refer back to. I understand that some people have asked for sight of the application. I've been told it's not available. That's as much as I know. I haven't had that response formally from DCC though. So where I am with it is I'm waiting to find out what the next steps are. So I'm waiting for some comms from DCC on this, because they are definitely the lead, Chair. So I will certainly keep you posted.
Okay, thank you very much indeed, Jerry. So our Exmouth Town Clerk, Lisa Bowman. Lisa, over to you.
Yeah, just to add a little bit of information to what Jerry's added. Graham, yes, the criteria did change, my understanding. And of course, the original application that went in that the Town Council supported was the pinch point fund. The criteria then morphed for the levelling up round 1. And then the criteria for levelling up round 2, I think, were refined even further. You know that we've got a meeting with Devon County Council coming up where we'll be able to put that question to them, but certainly my conversations with Hannah is that they were very heavily coached by the Department for Transport on how they needed to tweak the second round levelling up round application in order to meet the criteria. And I think that's what we're seeing, why there's a slightly different emphasis, because I think it is very much more a highways focused scheme, and I think they were told that that's what they needed to focus on in the second round bid. But we'll be able to put that question to them when we meet with them imminently. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Yes, that's very helpful indeed. Yes. Okay, and that certainly sounds to make sense that we're having to jump through hoops to meet the criteria. Yes. Okay. Right. Okay. So coming within the committee, Councillor Davey, Ollie.
Thank you, Chair. Just to say, I was at Sandy Bay at the weekend at the World of Country Life for an event there, and I did ask if they'd been impacted by the weather over the summer, and they said no, not really. But then, of course, they have a slightly different approach there, because firstly, they've got some undercover attractions, and also they've got a kind of captive audience there with the people at Sandy Bay, who probably have booked their week and are coming anyway, whatever the weather's doing. So quite interesting there, but I think it does highlight perhaps the need to have more all-weather attractions along the seafront, which is one of the things I sometimes think we need to be aware of. The beach is fantastic, but with the kind of August we had, the beach is not going to be busy all the time because of the weather. So if you've got other alternatives for people to take advantage of, then you've got a better opportunity there.
Okay, thank you very much. Yes, interesting about tourist figures. There's lots of different interpretations. Some people say they had a very good time, good business. Others did not, and we just have to wait and see what the figures come out. So one thing I will say, based on what Joe was saying about reporting back on the number of events, as a Lytham ward member, certainly in about Whitsun time, there were a large number of events in the town, and I just want to thank the guys who work at Street Scene, because they did a fantastic job coping with those and dealing with the litter and the various refuse problems that those events caused. So I was really very impressed. I want to say my thanks to them for doing that, because they did do a good job. Okay, right. Jerry, was that your... Do you wish to say something? Yes.
Chair, no, I assume we're going to move to any other business?
No, I don't have any other business. Was there something else you wanted to raise?
So I had two very small items, Chair, just to make you aware. One of the actions arising from the previous meeting, we had requested an update on the fitness area from LED. So they have actually sent us a report which is going to AMF. So I've just extracted the paragraph out from that, and really to just condense it. The intention was to provide the bungee ropes, Zorba balls, and water walkers at the fitness area. Unfortunately, the trampolines got damaged in the storms, which we had in the early part of the season, and we also think there was potentially some vandalism there. LED were not able to get the suppliers of the trampoline back, or to come over, actually from Ireland, as it happens, to instigate further repairs. So basically what they're saying to us is that they haven't delivered this year, and they're going to try a relaunch in Easter of next year. So it was just that one was kind of left hanging a little bit. There is a written version of it which will go out in the papers, which Sarah has, and the other one is rather imaginatively titled "The Yellow Welly Trail." So colleagues from the RNLI have approached us about the potential to put some small murals to make up a trail of the yellow wellies that the RNLI crews wear when they're on duty out on the boats. The idea is that you follow the trail and it eventually leads you to the RNLI station on the seafront. They're not asking us for anything at this point in time. They're just wanting to make us aware of it. We have given some advice in terms of just what they need to think about. If they're going to do work on a street or work at height, they will need a permit from the county council. We've also taken some planning advice, which we'll offer them as well. And we'll just try to keep them right. We just wanted to make you aware. So it's about 15 pairs of wellies will be painted, hopefully at some stage soon, and appear as a yellow welly trail across Exmouth. So just to let you know, I just thought it was kind of a bit fun, and it doesn't require a decision. It's just for information.
Okay, thank you very much. Yes, I was made aware about the welly trail yesterday, and I have to say I think it's an excellent idea and really part of the cultural heritage of Exmouth, as well as being a bit of fun that tourists may enjoy. So, Councillor Ollie.
Well, just following on from our discussions yesterday about trying to connect the town and seafront and so on, I think we should have a flip-flop trail to the beach as well. So, I'm sort of trying to think, maybe there's more imaginative things than just signposts. But I just wanted to say how much I enjoyed the workshops yesterday, actually. I was on Graham's table, and I think Graham would agree with me that our table got a little bit diffuse. There was maybe too many of us, but it was just a great networking event, and a lot of good conversations came out of it anyway, even if we weren't terribly focused on the tasks we'd been given. But I'm also very appreciative of the work that WSP are doing. I think they're obviously taking a very structured and logical approach to how we move forward, and I think the data and the approach that they're taking and the information they're getting. Oh, well, obviously I was stopped there from recording. Yeah, just I'm very appreciative of what they're doing, and thank you for putting on those workshops as well.
Thank you, Ollie. That's very positive.
Yes, indeed, it is very positive. Thank you for saying that. I thought it was a very effective day yesterday as well, and there was some very interesting ideas and comments that came out, which I think we can definitely work with. Okay, so I can't see any hands up now at all. So that, I think, brings our meeting to an end. We have no further agenda items, and I would like to thank everybody for their attendance. May I remind everyone that until the supporting confirms that we're no longer live, your comments will be heard and recorded. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Nick, you wanted to have a chat with me when everybody else is left? Sorry, Sarah.
Yes, please. Yes, please, yeah.
Thank you, Chair. I'm gone.
Sorry, if everyone could just stay silent, quiet for